Okay, called to order the Department of Public Works Facilities Committee meeting on May 22nd. Roll call.
Burchard here.
Marina here.
Gauthier here.
Smith present.
Meeting minutes from our last meeting on April 10th. Any comments? Okay.
Motion we accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Silence. Public session? No? Okay. Discuss results of the annual town meeting and town election.
Congratulations, guys. We got the first piece through. So just a quick summary. Town meeting vote, we needed a 2/3 majority. It was 223 yeses to 111 noes. And for the record, that's one vote. If one vote went the other way, it would not have passed. The ballot vote had 320 yeses and 432 noes, 40 blanks for a total of 792. Our funding was not contingent on the ballot vote. I know it was very confusing the way it was written. A lot of people were confused. Some people weren't. But the ballot vote was purely to decide if this debt that the town took on was able to be excluded or not. And because it was voted no, the answer is no, it's not able to be excluded. It needs to fit under the town's levy capacity. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Budget that was passed.
Yes, the budget.
Well, we
that
have
was
to
passed.
find it in free cash.
Correct. So, like on the contrary, the Sweat Hill project, which was the other ballot question, that one passed both. That one could be debt excluded and doesn't have to fit within the budget. So, yeah, I mean, just a quick summary leading up. We did the info session, not really well attended, but we got a lot of questions and we had a lot of interaction with the few people that were here. Thank you to Weston Sampson for the help with that. And they put together a nice trifold flyer. That was good to hand out. We had our open house, which, you know, is more of a touch of truck than an open house, but still it brings some people in, able to hand out some more flyers. And yeah, overall, I think, you know, we got this piece through. I look at this as a real commitment from the townspeople for this project. This is real money. This is, you know what I mean, to move this project forward. I don't know, you guys can weigh in, but that was just my wish.
Yeah.
No, the only thing I would have commented, there was some social media posts about, you know, perhaps this is thrown away money. But what people don't understand is this is a process that has to take place.
Right.
And there's procurement laws and things that we have to follow that don't make a lot of sense, but we're bound to them. So we're doing the right thing, and it's the right thing to do for the town.
And you guys, did you borrow? No issues with the borrowing at last night's meeting, select board meeting.
So they can't really do anything until July 1.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
But also, Kirsten did explain at the meeting, the vote opposed to the ballot. So it was explained at the select board meeting as well.
Okay. This gets a little bit deeper into the financials, but there's the ability to wrap this money into the project in the future and spread it out over 30 years. Bill, heard from some folks who said, oh, we voted no at the ballot so that it would accelerate the process a little bit. It's like, oh, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
This guy's really smart. So
I know. Yeah, I know. And I was like,
I thought that was interesting. But essentially, if we don't move the project forward, you know, this will need to be paid back in over 5 years. Right. So if we do continue to move it forward, it can be spread out over 30 with the bigger project. So just, you know, a piece of information. That's all. But yeah, so I mean, we're ready to rock and roll essentially with funding, which is cool.
We can do finance committee update.
Anything, Mark?
right. Couple things. We had our meeting the 15th, which was after both votes. And we resolved to do a better job in the future of ensuring residents have a better, this is out of the minutes, have a better understanding of what debt exclusion and how it relates to the warrants. The DPW building ballot vote failure was an example. And Bill and the town clerk will research if a descriptive summary can be included on the ballot. So a
On the
little,
ballot itself.
yeah, so a little more, you know, you were there. We, as a group, we were kind of back and forth trying to understand the whole thing. So,
I heard from a lot of people that they were confused by the question.
Yeah.
On the ballot.
yeah, it could have been better written. We did approve a motion that we recommend the 500,000 financing be for the longest possible term.
Right.
Okay, for 30 years and be rolled into future borrowing on the DPW facility when that occurs as a debt exclusion.
Excellent.
You know, maybe 20,000 a year or a small hit to the budget. So, and then we've got an article that's going into the Meeting House News next June. Pertinent to us, Joe wrote this. 2 significant public works projects also gained approval. First, an 800,000 borrowing authorization for long-term drainage improvements on Swat Hill Road, passed at both the town meeting and subsequent debt exclusion ballot. The project will not only address persistent erosion and winter icing, but also help improve water quality at the town beach. The second project authorizes 500,000 for initial design work and project management related to potential new Department of Public Works facility. While the article passed at ATM, the associated debt exclusion did not pass at the ballot, meaning the project's debt service must now be funded from within the existing town budget. Finance Committee has recommended to the Select Board a 30-year borrowing term to help minimize annual budget impacts.
Nice.
Wow.
Awesome.
It's okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That's it.
Thank you to you and
Yeah,
Joe.
we also we also tried to put together something for an article explaining the difference between 2.5 overrides and debt exclusion. And Kirsten and Bill said, let's hold off on that. So
But
we're gonna try to put something together in the end of the year, towards the end of the year, so to begin. I mean, I don't think the average person is gonna want to learn this.
well,
No,
the comment about the 30-year, rolling it into the 30-year, it really should mention that because of the vote, it's only going to be 5 years. And I think that's very important for us to communicate to everyone that because of the vote, it's a 5-year
for the
loan
500,000.
for the
Yeah.
500,000.
Unless the project passes.
Unless.
Right.
And then you roll.
And you
Right.
kind of have to be more clear on, because the wording sounds like, well, they just borrowed 500,000 for 30 years. It could be read that way or heard that way.
Okay.
All right, so I would suggest a more, because we really have to get people on board with
Why don't you
the
make a note at the
process.
bottom and I'll bring it up and
Okay, all right. Or I can just contact Joe. I got it.
Anything else, Mark?
no.
Okay, next item's the owner's project management RFP.
Mhm.
All right, so now that we have selected a designer and we have funding, the next step, even before we negotiate a contract with the designers, is to get an OPM on board. OPM, Owner's Project Manager, it's a state statute. I was initially just kind of unclear on what comes first, chicken or the egg kind of thing. I'm taking my procurement class right now. It's very clear that you need to have an OPM on board before you negotiate. You can get your designer selection, but before you negotiate a contract, the OPM's involved in that. So that's our next step. I received 2 documents today from Mike, and I think you sent me.
I sent a couple before,
Yeah.
but I also go back and look at them. I don't.
So I'm gonna go through everything I have. And by our next meeting, whether we want to do that in a couple weeks or what, I will have a document for you to review, and then hopefully we can get it. We'll present it, pretty much handle it the same way we handle these guys, right? RFP, read the proposals, so it's gonna take a little while.
Yeah.
How long do you think something like this needs to be on the street? We did a month for
I don't think it needs to be a month,
LPMs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2 to 3 weeks.
it's more, there's less digging into the
Yeah.
project itself and more looking at their credentials than anything else, so, 'cause that would be helpful. if we could
Yes,
shorten
you gotta
that
post it
schedule.
for 2 weeks probably, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I would put it in the central register, I guess how long before we would require proposals due? For that, for the designers, it was a month from the
Yeah.
date.
I don't think they need that
I
long.
think 2 weeks.
2 weeks is,
2 weeks
Fine,
is
yeah.
sufficient, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have all their credentials all ready to go, these people do this on a regular basis.
And really, I mean, it's, it's another building project for a lot of these people, so. Again, not having worked with an OPM before, do we want to have specific things for like public works facilities, or is it usually just like public building construction? I mean, how does that, what do you typically see? Do you see the OPMs having experience in specifically the public works, or is it?
Yes, we do. In fact, actually, a lot of times towns will have an OPM that's actually on board for on-call services.
Okay.
And when they're looking for an OPM for a DPW facility, they usually procure that separately for that very reason.
Okay.
yeah, I think we'd wanna have that as one of the criteria.
I can tell you when I checked references on designers, the OPM came up more than the designer in terms of like making or breaking a project. And I didn't hear a lot of positive things, but I think that a lot of like, don't work with this one, don't work with this one. So references are going to be pretty important
Yeah.
when it comes to the OPM, because really it's our eyes and ears and kind of driver for the project. So
Yeah, also when we post it, hopefully Weston Sampson will reach out to whoever they have good experience with. I'll reach out to a few people I know.
Yeah.
To just let them know that it's
absolutely.
posted.
Are most of them firms, or are they like single parties that?
There's some smaller ones, but they're
Firms,
firms,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and a good number with DPW experience.
Good. If you get a firm, do you have the same body every time, or is it anyone from that firm is the OPM?
I think we should require, we want one
Yeah.
That's
one
what I was
dedicated
thinking,
person.
one point
Yeah.
of contact.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would typically be the same for a party.
okay, I thought so.
It's an interesting conversation that I've been having with a lot of people ask me, why do we need an OPM? Especially people who've worked with architects and engineers before. Because conceptually, the architect or the engineer, the design team protects the owner. So now we need a protection from a protector. I mean, that it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
So I would like us, especially since we're in a meeting and since you're taking notes, to explain why do we need to have an OPM and not, obviously to state statute. Why is it a state statute? Does anybody really understand why? Because I haven't been able to come up with a succinct answer myself. So I was kind of hoping that you would, or someone would help us.
You wanna go first?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, I think it's to be another advocate for the town.
Another ad.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah, I think of it that way too. I don't know the origin of it, but I do think of it as most towns don't have a lot of experience in a building project.
In a large building.
In a large building project, yeah.
Okay.
But they might have the experience with the large horizontal type project. Yeah.
Mhm.
So for that very reason, a lot of towns that we engage with, they don't know how to go about this process. And so it's the state's attempt to try to get a neutral party involved to advocate on behalf of the town.
Okay, so now we have,
and maneuver the 149. process.
Okay.
Regulatory process, all the
Okay,
permitting and all that stuff. So I mean, that's all.
this is really important to
It
clarify.
also kind of works as a bridge between the designer's design and the contractor.
Uh-huh.
And where maybe they would have more construction experience or whatnot, and they'd be able to kind of bridge that gap, taking us out of the middle and bridge that gap from contractor back to designer for design changes and things like that.
Yeah, I saw just in the few places that I've seen, mistakes made in the decision level, which is the people in this room more than the contractor or, you know, that we go through budget things or whatever. And I would want you guys and I'm not asking this as a committee, I'm saying personally, I would want an OPM and an engineer architect to call us out if they think we're making a dumb decision. If they, you know, really get loud and want to hear it, because some of these decisions are so penny wise and pound foolish that it's almost penny wise and, you know, ton foolish because of the costs. And I'm asking for that from any OPM, that we would want to have somebody stand up and go, no, this is a dumb thing to do. And this is why you have to spend a little more here. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot more in the next X.
And that's a good question for when we interview them.
Yes.
You know, you can get a sense for how they would handle something like that.
Okay.
So do those RFPs give a scope of work? I can't remember the ones I
Both
said.
services, this was, they look very similar.
They do.
If you look at the cover anyways. All right, so yeah, I guess I can read that. Oversee and review architects' work as it relates to the quality and efficiency of design and preparation of architect schedules and cost estimates. Review invoices for services rendered from the architects and make recommendations for payment. Define conflicts between and among design documents, including schematic and final designs, make recommendations to the town and architect to resolve them. Review plans, design development documents, construction documents, evaluations, specifications for 149. Attend meetings and other designated committees for the project. Permitting, present reports and status to committees. Act as the owner's agent during planning, design, engineering, development. In general, provide advice and consultation to the town with respect to design, value engineering, scope of work, cost estimating, general contractor and subcontractor pre-qualification, scheduling, and coordination. Assist the owner and architect with preparation, issuance of bid and other procurement documents for contract work, including but not limited to filed sub-bids in accordance with all public bidding requirements. Assist town with pre-qualification of bidders and filed sub-bidders. Oversee work of the architect and complete an architect evaluation upon completion of the project. Oversee work of the GC throughout the construction and provide full-time on-site representation throughout
Yeah,
construction.
the clerk, yeah.
Provide support services through closeout and associated warranty period. Coordinate with all town departments as necessary to facilitate the completion of the project, including but not limited to board commission committee meetings, monitoring budget compliance and coordinating on-site issues, and assist with evaluation of contractors and subcontractors upon completion of the project. So that's like DCAM evaluations and things like that. This is a nice document because it's not that long. Minimum qualifications, let's see. I'm looking for DPW specific. Prior experience acting as an OPM administering design and construction projects on similar size scope, especially DPW facility projects. This one does have a note that says familiarity and/or experience related to green construction, energy efficiency and generation, and grant sources for same. You know, Thorough is a green community.
They were a specialized goal.
Yeah, specialized. Okay, we are not. Yeah, and then it gives a layout of the competitive criteria. So it's prior similar experience, past performance on public and private projects, financial stability, demonstrated capacity and resources to undertake a project of this magnitude, and identify the qualifications of consultants who would work with the applicant. consultants would work with an LPM. Another cost estimator. or
Testing
something.
agents.
Testing.
Testing agents.
Oh, like concrete.
Commissioning.
Yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, they would usually have another estimator too on board, right?
Okay.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
too, yeah,
yes, correct.
So we have the battle of the estimators.
yeah.
And we're paying for both of them. That I
this
like,
one,
Yeah, they.
I know.
So the one thing we will want to do is to get it broken out by up to like through the SD phase. And then SD through, I think, 100% CDs and bidding, and then construction. So we'll have at least points at to stop at, depending on how boats go and stuff like that.
I don't see, so I see when they wanted them back. I don't see in the invitation when it was available, so it doesn't tell me how long it was on the street for, but. No,
I might have that.
just, they wanted them back August 1st, but I don't know, last year. Yeah. No, this is a good, it's not that long, it's pretty simple.
Yeah. I think we should just look at timing when we're gonna send it out, because if it's around the 4th or something, we might have to give them more time.
Absolutely. So let me get it together in the Sterling form,
Okay.
and I'll read both of these, which I honestly think they took one. They're pretty similar. This one is in phases though.
Okay.
That's the sample one that you sent me, which I wonder if it is through SD. I don't know. We'll look at it. Yeah, Jonathan, if you have any more.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll try to find some other ones too. I'll look at the ones I pulled from before.
I'll email you these as well.
Okay. Okay.
Nice.
Next item, if no one has any more about owner's project management, we can move on to discuss design schedule and
I had these guys put some stuff together.
Perfect.
If you wanted to.
Hey, Pete, can you, did you get copies of those?
We have to get an OPM on board soon, don't we?
yeah, yeah,
Because otherwise
we can shoot for the middle of July.
yeah,
These are, this
Are
is
kind of
just
small, but I do have at least
no, this is fine.
one larger one I can give you as well.
This is only a draft, really for discussion purposes.
Yeah,
So
no,
that we-
to be sort of
Here's a large
schedule or
one.
anything like that.
So that we can get a good visual. Yeah. Okay.
So one thing is, Ryan, so we have some money still, before we get the OPM on board and before we get a full contract with Weston Sampson, we have some money to,
So today, we
Yeah.
have $57,062.87. And then as of July 1st, you can add 500,000 of that. So the money will be combined. And we had kind of put aside the 50 for, honestly, a lot of the work we've done already, which we just got done. And then we were gonna do some geotech.
Yeah.
We ended up just kind of shifting things around a little bit.
but that can bridge us until we get an OPM on board.
Absolutely,
So
we can spend that
a little bit of
today,
time so that
you know.
Weston Sampson could
Right,
do some work. Okay.
correct.
So, just two different options that we put together, and a couple things to note is the yellow vertical lines that go up and down the page. What those are signifying is town meetings. We got the special town meeting that's coming up end of October, early November. Or we have the annual town meeting, which I believe takes place the first week of May.
Yeah.
What we see right now is the critical pathing is how quickly we can get to consensus on the site selection, as well as how quickly can we get the OPM on board. In this first case, what we have outlined is we'll get through site selection and concepts by the end of June. So that could be relatively quick, considering, you know, we've seen a lot of dialogues in some towns when we start talking site selection. So if we can come to consensus quick, by all means, I stress that it's important that you get the right site that you all feel comfortable with, and not just try to rush through this process. With that, what we can also do is we can advance as the OPM's coming on board. We can advance some work without getting into design work that's required by the OPM. The concept floor plans is something that can take a lot of time, so we can start vetting that process as well, which is really kind of the next big step that we have in advancing the process. So in this case, what we would do is then we'd have the OPM on board sometime in July. And then we can start the schematic design process. We'll get our estimates in, and we'll have a warrant article at the fall town meeting requesting design and bidding funds.
You would do design and bidding funds in the fall, not.
In the
That would be
fall,
fantastic.
correct.
You think
So
that's?
I don't know what people's thoughts on that. I mean, I would love to push for that.
Me
I
too.
think it'd be better. I just seeing the current climate out there right now, I've worked on 2 jobs where the file sub bids are 15 to 20% less in the last 2 weeks. And then there was just a public school bid this week, was published at 124 and it came at 102. Well, people need work. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna hit that timing because we're at least a year out, but people are being aggressive right now, so.
I'm just gonna say from my standpoint that this schedule is aggressive. I'm all about trying it, understanding that it's very aggressive.
Yeah.
And public work is not aggressive. So we'll try our hardest. But like, I look at like how does like permitting and stuff like that fit into this? Because that is out of our hands.
Yep.
Or a lot of it is out of our hands.
Correct. So as we wrap up schematic design is about 25% design. We'll start the design development process. The design, it goes schematic design development, construction documents. So during the middle of the design development, that's when we're going to start the permitting process. So as these drawings, these plans, the project moves forward, they're not all being completed at the 25% level, right? So what you'll have is civil will be ahead of electrical. Electrical's always last, right? So civil might be 45% and electrical might be 10%. So what we need for the permitting is we need civil to advance, right? So the civil is going to be further along. So during the DD process of the design development, we'll get the applications in for permitting.
So that would be between the fall meeting and May and bidding.
Correct. I would expect we'd be submitting, like November, December timeframe, with the idea of having everything wrapped up by the time we, permits in hand by the time we go for, we have bids on the street.
Yeah, we want to put permits in the contract documents.
Absolutely.
So that there's no orders of conditions and all of the requirements, and that they're able to buy into them.
I know Bill's not here tonight, but I was told that because of the MBTA zoning stuff that we will be having a fall town. So this wouldn't be like a special just for us. So that's one of the drivers that's one of the real attractive things about bringing it to fall. I think kind of what we need, if this is a schedule we want to try to push for, we need to kind of get some milestone dates and work backwards as a group for some triggers.
Yeah, what commitments you need from us to make these dates as well, because I mean, it's probably going to be us slowing you guys down more than.
Yeah, because I mean, we got to kind of like that's going to work backwards and forward. So when's the warrant due? You know what I mean? That's going to be the big trigger. And then, because really, a lot of this is going to fall down to what is our cost estimate, right?
Yep.
Is it a project we're comfortable bringing to the people, because the next time we go, we need to have a cost estimate, of like, here's what the building is projected to cost. One that's solid, and, so that's my biggest thing, I think we need to bring.
Just what I would add, Ryan, on when is the warrant due? Mike might kick me under the shins if I was sitting next to him, but sometimes you can write the language of the warrant article, get that nailed down, and leave the number blank, or enter the highest number with the hope maybe to be bringing it down. What I'm getting at is if that would be allowed, that could buy us 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Absolutely.
And the more time that we have, the better the estimate's gonna be.
The good thing is that the number that would be going in the warrant would be the design bid number, which would be a known number. It's the presentation for, we're gonna spend this much more because we're planning on building a building that costs
This,
X.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's X that I wanna make sure that we
Yeah,
know.
but we wouldn't be asking for that X until the full town meeting in
Yeah.
May.
Correct.
Yeah.
But really, it's whatever the bid is, which hopefully is 25% less
Yeah, that'd be great.
than we had projected.
Another thing I just wanted to point
Just
out,
amazing.
just for discussion, after hearing you talk about when funds would be available, under the first Schedule A, potential Schedule A, we're showing design development starting in mid-September, but that maybe can't happen until funds are approved at the town meeting.
I think we're overfunded right now, and that's kind of what I talked about with Mike, is that we have enough money to get through schematic and
And
maybe
then
a
some.
little further.
Yeah.
Okay,
And have the OPM at this point. That was kind of our impression, so maybe that's why it was
That's
structured,
exact, yeah.
structured that way. So I think in potential Schedule B, we wouldn't be expending all of our money before the next.
So that town meeting in the fall it would be just a town meeting vote. Would there be a ballot vote too? Or,
Probably.
yeah,
There would have to be,
Have to be.
I would think, if
Yeah.
we're gonna do a debt exclusion,
I
which
think,
we have to.
I think it would have. to,
Okay.
Because we're right there. We're up against the capacity at this point.
I mean, I like pushing it to try to get it obviously to pass, but if it doesn't, then we have the next one in
We
May.
have the next
Otherwise, you're
one
gonna
right
miss
there.
now a whole another calendar year.
Correct. And there's no saying that there's gonna be a special, if we had bids in hand, there would be a special.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, for this project, but there's no saying that there's gonna be a special otherwise, But that is nice because it gives you those 2 meetings within 6 months.
Yep.
Which sounds like a long time, but really isn't. I'm all for it. I'm trying to, the critical path on the OPM, so it's May 20th, 22nd. Best case scenario, this goes on the street the second week in June, which means at that point, we're probably not accepting until after July 4th, or maybe just before. We're interviewing after July 4th.
Yeah.
Another week to call references, make a decision.
Mid-July.
So now you're in the middle of July. How contract execution shouldn't be too bad with an OPM. So really, we should have one on board, say, if everything starts aligned middle of July, which is just what this shows.
Yeah.
So I think if we stay to the schedule, we can get that critical path piece. And at the same time, maybe we can do some sort of interim amendment with the money that we have and get you guys rolling,
Yeah, I think that would be to like bridge it over. And
Yeah.
then, what would your first steps be in like these concept floor plans? But would it also be re-interviewing staff and
Just firming up that stuff, maybe.
So, yeah, we talked about that a little bit internally. We've been through it, I think 4 times.
Oh,
So, but
I just keep changing my mind.
I think what might be most important, I know Della's not here tonight, she's been involved, I think, with all the discussions. I think JP should probably have a sit down.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
he can articulate what he's seeing and make sure that, you two are on the same page.
I think the biggest thing too is our vehicle list is ever changing and improving and growing. And that's really what I want to make sure we have nailed down is the vehicle list.
Yeah, and your staffing and your operations might not have changed a whole lot, but your projection for the future might have changed.
Correct.
So maybe we want
Yeah.
to take something else into account.
Yep.
to the previous.
We can do that anytime we like, honestly. You know?
Yeah, right. And it's important to get that done well before we get through site selection, so we have a footprint to start looking at once we get through.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the site selection would be the one that we want to jumpstart.
Yeah. Did you want to even go over Schedule B or?
I mean, I think we shoot for Schedule A
And fall back to
and
B.
get and if it doesn't hold, we're kind of gonna end after the fall meeting, we're gonna end up at B, kind of the second path, but I think we go for it. I mean, I think if you guys could put together dates for us to have either meetings, have reviews and stuff like that, I think we don't want to slow you down on getting the
That would be
progression.
helpful for us, so that way we can all be aware of it and schedule it
Yeah.
ahead of time. You know, summer's tough.
It is.
But that would be, I'll get you guys some dates of warrant deadlines and stuff. I don't even know if they have a date for the fall meeting now, so. But would it coincide with the November election? Would it be
Unlikely.
like a week before that? No, no idea. Okay. Okay, I'll see what Bill has to say on that.
I think as a committee, we may want to be open to moving more than monthly meetings
Yeah, I think we're probably gonna have to.
in order to pull this off. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna have to.
Sometimes what we see is a smaller subcommittee group that might meet more frequently.
We could also, and I know you're super busy, but we could explore some online stuff too, if we
Right.
Yeah, I
wanted to. Like, I know you can do Zoom during the day,
Yeah.
so
Right.
even if we Zoom you in or whatever, I don't wanna sound like a diva, but nights are tough sometimes, you know what I mean? So like, if there's any chance to do some of the quicker stuff during the day, that would be
I'm fine
nice.
doing day and
Okay. We can explore that.
if I know in advance I can be here.
Yep, and we record them all anyway,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
people wanna watch them, they can watch them. No one tunes in. Here, Dick,
Well-
I'll invite Dick to my office.
Yeah, there you
Okay, great. I think so. I think we can move forward with Schedule A. Next item is potential sites. So I know we've talked about this quite a bit in the past. We kind of thought the sand pit down behind the old dump was the best site. Is there other sites we want to explore? Or do we want to just kind of focus our energy on that site?
Well, there are other sites, but so far, I mean, I have no idea how we could meet this schedule and address other sites.
I
Cause,
don't know that we could because we don't own anything else.
right,
I
that
think we
would
need to
be,
focus on the site behind the police station.
I think it's actually a better site than the other thing that I know Bill and I were speaking about, which is the airport, which is for sale. But I honestly think the site that we're looking at is a better site for the DPW than the airport, which should be more valuable, and I'm not even sure the DPW would belong there.
I honestly think it's gonna be less restrictive. I think that airport site is gonna be very difficult
Yeah, but
to
DCR
build
land.
on,
For a lot of reasons.
for a lot of reasons.
And it would make sure this schedule would be blown up. It would
It would
literally,
not, we would be delaying it, I think, at least a year.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe more.
Yeah, to get the funds.
And how are we gonna fund it? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I know that there's some other.
Right.
at play, but I think that's a huge.
Okay,
So
so,
there's been some rumors that should we go down behind the police station that the like department?
Yes.
Kind of willing to.
I've had some conversations with them.
Yeah.
Do we have what they would need for a footprint or anything like that?
So, no, but if we moved to the back.
Yeah.
Like we were planning on, there would be plenty of room for them to do whatever they're trying to do.
Okay.
They're looking for like warehouse space.
Yep.
Obviously, an ideal situation would be they move all their operations down there into one big operations unit. I don't believe, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but based on what I heard from them, they're not interested in that right now because of how much effort they put into where they are. Both those buildings got heavily renovated.
Right.
However, they're undersized. They're
Mhm.
looking for storage space at this point, another similar warehouse to what they have on Pratt's.
But you-
But I think they would be interested
Yeah.
in sharing some of those site work in terms of utilities, road, water,
what about,
electrics, things like
you,
that.
you see them as two separate facilities though?
Yes.
Not any,
Not
combined, two separate, okay?
Nope,
So
two
just,
separate facilities.
so the site work and site infrastructure could be shared, but no other.
Essentially, the access site work and infrastructure I can see being shared.
Yeah, or
Mm.
like site drainage,
Sure,
I mean,
Maybe
septic.
septic,
maybe, I mean,
yeah.
yeah. I guess it depends on where they're located. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where are they located? Are they, because think about that, the whole site pitches down, so I mean, I guess they could pump up to a septic as well, you know, because we'd be I don't even know if they would have a septic.
I think they'd have to have a bathroom.
Yeah, they
Oh, they
have
do?
to.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'd have to have something, but
Okay,
it
okay.
would be low demand compared to
Oh, yeah,
our facility.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, that'd be great if we could
And-
share
and
the
if
cost
you
of some
want-
infrastructure.
Right.
I can try to, I don't know how you'd want to start those conversations. You want them to come here? Do you want to, how do you want to manage that?
I think just
Just me and
the
Matt?
casual question is, first of all.
Because that's kind of what I talked.
How much you looking for? right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
3,000 square foot building, it's incidental. Really,
Right, okay.
I think they're looking for more.
Which is fine, even more is fine. You
Right.
know, 3,000 is tiny. I'm sure they'll be under 7,500 because that's the sprinkler trigger. So I'm sure it'll be.
But they'll
74,
want
50.
area for cribbing for poles and
Sure.
stuff like that, so they'll want
Yes.
some lay down areas.
Outside,
so-
yeah. They use it now that way.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
So I think it'd be
that's good, yeah.
great collaboration potential,
Right,
and it'll save everybody money.
yep,
So yeah, I guess if you can start the conversations with them, once we have some
Okay.
site kind of layouts, maybe then we share them
Yeah.
with them.
I know that
Put some
they have
blocks
been
on where they-
really heavily looking into properties,
Mhm,
mostly existing properties, and they've been very turned off by the costs.
mhm.
And, you know, essentially they're looking at buying a property that maybe doesn't perfectly suit their needs, and that is obviously working into some of the cost. If they are essentially given a piece of property in exchange for some work, you know, site work type money, which then offsets our
Yeah.
cost, it's a win-win. They're a town
Right.
entity.
Exactly.
You know, it's a win-win. I
Do you
think.
maintain any of their equipment or anything like that?
Small stuff,
Small,
yep,
okay.
we'll help them on, we've done radiators for them, you know, we don't do the intrinsic type stuff, anything related to the boom. But, we've done motor work for them, we just did the PM in one of their small trucks, I mean, we help them out as much as we can, and they help us out too, it's
Yeah.
a great relationship really we have together.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, so we should just march forward to that site, is that what everyone's?
March forward with.
I think that seems to be the only option,
Yeah.
Okay.
realistically.
So that being said, and kind of staying on this topic. We had discussed things like sound testing and things like that. Is that some stuff we want to kind of get moving? Because honestly, all that stuff would have to be flushed out before we go back to a town meeting and
Correct.
someone stands up and says, hey, your building's behind my property or my unit or whatever, you know, is that something we want to kind of get moving?
I think so, I think,
So Tony went through this recently and my guess is what we probably need is, we need the concept before we.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
what about geotech? I know we had the proposal before, do we want to
We-
start engaging them then?
We would need the concept for that.
Okay,
Because we don't want to poke holes where. it's
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
be there.
Okay.
So
okay,
there's a mountain of sand right on top. Is that okay?
that's fine.
We can move that.
So
That'd
it
be
really
fun.
starts, it really starts
Have
with
fun.
the survey. If there's wetlands, there is wetlands involved in the
Yeah.
access road, wetland flagging, survey.
Well, do we want to start with survey? I mean,
Yeah.
would the money we have cover that survey?
It should. You have a big
It's a
site.
big set. I know that.
So.
There's lots of piles.
Yeah,
Survey.
yeah, it's a big site, but I think the money that you have available should cover that.
I mean, because I know that has lead time
Yeah.
sometimes. I don't know how you guys might be better off than we are. We struggle with surveys.
Surveys have been tough lately, but I think we've had good luck. I think you both have had got surveys recently and
I'm
just, yeah, okay.
Not good luck either.
Okay, I thought it was getting better.
I don't know, and I'm not trying to piecemeal everything here. I'm just trying to think of some stuff we should get rolling.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna need that,
Surveys, yeah, one of the most important.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would get proposals going on it.
Yeah,
we'll,
including that in your.
yep, I'll get a proposal for that. We'll get your timeline for that, but we'll also talk a little bit after this meeting and just make sure just make sure we're not overlooking something that might be more critical in that process.
Yeah, and any other permitting required at that site, if you guys can look at that.
MSHA is what I'm most curious on, the mine safety. It is a classified mine. I do paperwork for it every year. I don't want that to rear its ugly head at some point. I'm already in discussions with DEP regarding the landfill. They don't see it as being an issue. There's a little tiny corner of the landfill that GIS anyways falls on this site. I think that the survey would probably flush that out, and they said a lot of times it's as simple as just changing a designation of a parcel in their system, knowing that it's not actually a landfill or whatnot. They were gonna look into that for me and get back to me.
Do we have water to the top of the hill, like behind the police station? Is there water there already?
So up George Pizzo, yeah, it goes up George Pizzo and turns
Okay.
left to the police station, it's
How-
right there.
How large is it? How large a main is it?
Plenty big.
Gas.
No
No
gas,
gas, yeah.
no gas, it only goes up to the asphalt plant right there. It stops. No sewer. There's plenty of big power up there, though, I believe it's 3-phase. Right down that road, I'd have to look, but they can.
Yeah.
We have the technology. What, I know this is something we've talked about, and again, I'm just kind of flushing some stuff out, and the survey will tell us more here, but if we have that huge bank of gravel in the back, is that something we want to explore doing something with?
Yes.
Or do we want to leave it, because it'll buy us a ton more space. It could possibly be income. I don't know how it would work as income, timing wise, I've been a part of surplus sales in the past with loose material like gravel, and it can be very challenging. There would need to be some very finite requirements on it, like you will come in with your equipment, you will remove it in a matter of a month or something like that, versus like, yeah, I'll get there on the rainy days, which just tends to be what happens. Or maybe we need to use some of that material on the site, so I want to just throw that out there because that's going to kind of drive, there's acres back there that we can use before we build a building and we can't touch it, or hard to touch, I guess.
And I think we want to use, we don't want to leave this, the gravel. We want to use the space because it'll give a better utilization of the whole site.
So
So
wait for the survey, see what it
Yeah,
looks like,
but
see
that
how
would
much is
confirm
there.
How much is there?
that would
It'll tell us
confirm.
exactly how much is there.
So 75% of it or something.
Right.
Yeah, has anyone ever expressed interest in it?
I'm
Any
sure there's
towns?
plenty of people we could talk to. That would have to be an RF or a
Yeah.
bid, pretty
Yeah.
much. But I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of people around here that would be interested in it.
I think the design might also use a lot.
It might.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, you just
decent
look at it.
material.
yeah.
It's sandy gravel.
And some of it's
It's
sand,
not clay.
some of it is sand.
Most of it has like
It's not great
cobbles,
for foundation.
Yeah.
right?
Right. No, for backfilling.
thinking out loud, but I'm wondering if there isn't a way we could build the fate of that embankment and getting it back as far into the contract.
I'm thinking that too, almost like a contractor would build scrap steel into a demo contract and offset that cost, you know what I mean? And it would wrap it all up into one bow, then their schedule drives it. Just a thought.
But, you know, if they saw value in the gravel, then maybe that brings the bid prices down, you know,
Right.
if you're giving them the gravel
I like
as
the way
part of
he's
the
thinking.
contract.
Yeah. I agree. That part might be harder to sell to the people if that is something that we need to do with gravel. I don't know, but
Might be hard to quantify.
that's, yeah, exactly. You know, but I mean, it's a chip saying it's an effort that we're trying to make to offset the costs. You know, at the same time, helping our project, but there is some leveling that needs to get done on that site as well,
Yes.
so.
Just to elaborate on JP's point, it is gonna be hard to quantify, like, I just think about our estimator,
It might be
how
hard
we
to
carry
get
it.
too.
Well, yeah,
That's really the bigger question.
because you don't know how the bidder's gonna look at that
Might
number.
be in the way, right?
Well-
Well, we'd have to set a certain amount and make them give us a unit cost.
I
credit,
see.
Essentially, I would think, right?
Yeah, I almost think you just say this is where you gotta get to, this is your grades, you gotta take it. And some may say I have a spot for it and I'll discount my price to
I
it.
think
Others,
most will say, ignore it and then make money.
yeah,
Really is
yeah.
what they'll tell
Well,
us.
except that you're within the bidding, if that were a change order after
True.
Yeah.
that,
True.
Yeah,
then they're a lot less motivated.
Good
But
point.
this is an edge that they can beat their competitor on.
Exactly.
Well, that's right, but we can't predict that in the estimate, right? So
No.
what the point is how do we show that to the taxpayers? I don't know that we can.
Right,
That's-
which is fine, we don't have to, I'm devil's advocating questions that will.
It'd be nice if we could turn this into a selling point. that
Right.
People saw what we were trying to do.
As a good faith effort to reduce costs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really all, same with the light department, it's no different than that, you know, we're trying to make good faith efforts to reduce costs as much as we can. Or offset, I should say.
Yeah. The whole dirt industry, it's all about timing, so
Yeah.
it's,
Hey, say a local contractor gets it and they wanna truck it across the street,
yeah, yeah,
right there.
Is the landfill closed?
yes.
Been closed, for about 30 years.
Yeah.
Still in,
And it's closed and capped is what I meant.
closed and capped,
Okay.
yeah, still in monitoring.
Is there any monitoring wells down on this site?
No.
There are,
Really?
Yeah.
okay,
So there's, if you go down the road where the fair trailers are, there's two back there. As you continue down, there's two more, just over a banking to where the pond is. And then as you continue down, if you ever brought brush and leaves, in between the leaves and the brush, there's two wells right there. They all have big flags on them now because we just located them all last year.
Are there any that would be within the footprint of a new DPW?
Not at all.
Not even
That's the benefit of pushing
Yeah,
it
we're
back.
really far away.
how long do they have to monitor them for?
It's a long story.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, never mind.
20 years until you get to the 20th year. and
That's
then-
right.
Yeah,
Another 20
you
years.
skip 14 years in the
Oh,
middle.
yeah.
They had that on,
And here we go again.
so that's
Okay.
kind of where we are right
Okay.
now.
We can talk about this longer than we can talk about the building.
Yeah.
Lane's gonna go at 7.
No, no, that's been canceled.
Oh, good. So, yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. We'll be monitoring for. So, awesome. That's,
Anything else you guys need from us, Weston and Sampson, to get down there? Do you want to see the site or?
Actually, no.
I think we should, we should do,
no, it's a beautiful day.
I know, right?
we should do
I heard
a
it
site
rains
visit.
It does, puddles, I'm saying.
I've been by it a million times and I say, that's the site.
Oh, you go up the off ramp, you can see it right to
Yeah.
the right on the on ramp, yeah.
I'd really love to walk around that site with people. I think it's fun and it's a great site and there's a huge potential.
What are you doing Monday? It's supposed to be nice.
I'll be there. No, seriously.
Exactly.
Be nice. I wanna know where the property lines are, I wanna,
What?
it's unique.
It
What's
really is.
DOT?
There's the railroad tracks in the back. way up there.
Yeah, so that's something we gotta
Off.
look at. We don't wanna be too close to the railroad tracks, just
We
because
won't
rail
be.
insurance and all that other stuff.
Yeah, because the railroad goes under the highway, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that goes under
Yeah.
190.
The railroad tracks are way far down in
Oh, are they?
elevation.
Oh, so it must go up the hill then down.
Yeah. I mean, if they have to
They
be.
used to be a road that we would drive all up on top, you know, when Bobby Temple made a road.
Yeah.
To go all the way around. And you went up and you could look down at the landfill. And you could see the highway and the tracks. And,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah, the slopes haven't moved in a number of years. So,
Are there any gates, like if I happen to be in the area unexpectedly or any of us,
you locking
can
it
we
now or
get in
not?
there? Or-
The weekends they're locked, but during the week, it's open.
Okay.
Between us and the light department in and out of there every day. But the weekends, we tend to lock it up. It's just so nobody gets in.
And you can walk down too.
Absolutely, it's a long walk.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
You can park up top and then walk down.
Yeah.
We'll try to set something up.
But let us know, just let us
I know
know.
you-
Meet you down there.
If I know you're going on a weekend and you wanna buy, I'm saying.
Yeah,
just
just unlock it.
just give you a key, or I gotta lock it, you could, like I said, just.
Or give me the key, I'll.
Yeah,
No,
we'll try to
seriously.
get something, for next week.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Just keep us posted. We'll show you around.
Bring your muck boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all of it, it's so gravelly and sandy that it doesn't hold a lot of water.
They'll get soft in the spring, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, it does.
When it does.
Yeah.
It gets the sun, gets a lot of sun, so it melts that top layer and gets a big rust.
Oh, yeah, we can rub it out.
The sun, yeah.
Yeah, bring some pontoons there.
Okay, you ready to move on to the
I'm
next?
good.
Future meetings, so we should discuss if we want to try to get that, RFP out.
Yes.
Well, right?
How fast can we review the RFP? Just,
Do you want me to just send it out electronically? You
Yeah.
Provide me some comments instead of meeting, I'm fine with that.
are you,
So
I'm okay with that.
today,
Yeah, works for me.
So, all right,
all right, today's the 22nd, tomorrow's a short week.
just can't.
in the meeting, I have to tell them.
Right,
Yes,
they would just have to respond
Respond.
individually.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna make a goal to get it to you guys no later than the 6th of June.
Okay,
That gives me a week and 4 days. It might be earlier,
when do you have to have it for posting? What,
so I would need to post it by Thursday, the 12th, for it to be in on the 18th. Or I can post it Thursday, the 5th, assuming we get, you know what I mean? Get stuff quick enough. Back, get comments back. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not.
if we post it on the 5th, that gives us time to get it back before.
So why don't I try to get it to you by the 3rd? By the
Okay.
3rd.
And you'll send
next
the
week-
copies you have now?
Yep,
Okay,
and I'll start working on tomorrow. RFP for the OPM to board. So if we do that, we'll plan to advertise, so I need comments back by the beginning of the following week. We'll advertise 6/5. They'll be available 6/11. And then due back, I'm on vacation, but that doesn't matter. We'll say the 26th,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. They go to Bill anyways, right?
They'll go to Bill,
Bill,
yeah,
okay.
yep. All right, so here it is.
right, it moves pretty fast. We need this all.
So do we want to try to meet the first week in June then?
Do we need to, though?
I don't think we do unless,
I don't think we
Everyone-
do. Honestly, if I said the RFP out, we advertised 6/5. We have the whole week after that to make changes, because
Changes,
they're
yeah.
not gonna be available till 6/11.
Yeah.
Unless you want me to I also would be okay putting it in on 5/29, which would then make it available
Yeah,
6/4.
yeah. I like
Because
that.
it'll still give you guys 2 days.
Okay.
Yep, and honestly, I could put it in 6/4, but it doesn't have to be available 6/4. I can make it available 6/5. The day after, you know?
And that works for me.
Okay, all right, so.
Yeah, if we can get it
5/29
resolved next week,
advertise
well, it's just Memorial Day.
in Central Register. I don't have to
Are
do
you
combis
going,
for that,
are you going away?
just Central
Memorial
Register
Day?
newspaper.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
going.
but I can look at stuff at night. so.
Yeah, but I mean,
I can ask.
if we can get those over the weekend, we can actually do this whole thing next week, the end of next week.
Yeah.
If we were to do it next week, I would have had to advertise today by 4 PM.
No, that's not what I meant.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Advertise next week.
So if it's available 6/4, we can get them back. 19th is a day off. Maybe the 20th, do that Friday. Oh, they're only open till noon. And if you have it due by 10 o'clock, that's fine.
Yeah.
So do 6/19 or 6/20
6/20.
AM. I will be off that whole time, until the 30th. So I'll just review them at that point. And then, so I guess the question is, do we want to meet in June and just reconvene? Amid this stuff? Do you think it'd be worth it? Or anything you guys want to catch up on, or?
I guess the only reason I want to meet if it is something we want to.
Right, otherwise we might as well just wait until we have our OPMs.
No, I can't. If something comes up, we can let you know. And then
Right.
Yeah.
So at that point, I mean, I know it seems kind of crazy, but we might as well just wait until we have the OPM packages. So I'm looking at like the 9th and 10th at this point of July.
I am away that week, the 7th through the 11th, but we do it the very beginning of the following week.
Yep.
The 14th, 15th or something, Monday, Tuesday, I don't know.
I can't do Tuesday, I can do the 14th.
The 14th, this is going to be for interviews, hold for interviews, or
well, we're gonna have to rank the proposals.
Yep.
So I guess the question is, how much do we want to talk about that and set up some parameters, and then that can be interviews? You know what I mean? So, because if not, then we should meet beforehand. We can meet. Maybe we can meet July 4th week too, 30th, 1st, or 2nd, if you want to review the proposals.
I could do the 30th or the 1st.
I'd prefer earlier in the week.
Yeah.
I can do the 30th.
30th?
I'll just post the
work.
meeting early,
Yeah,
6:30.
6:30 or 6?
No, sorry, June 30th.
June 30th
Just
Yeah.
30.
at 6 o'clock, and this
No,
will
that is
review.
6:30. Yeah.
we'll review proposals and then decide who we want to bring in for interviews.
Yeah, and then let's plan to interview 6/14. Or 7/14.
7/14.
Interviews. And that puts us on schedule for the middle of July to have our impressive. It's
And I guess on the 30th, if there's anything Weston Sampson you guys want to discuss, then we could do it then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll try to send out a summary of this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um,
Can we also have some ability to review the program, what I call the program, the project requirements.
Sure.
I'd like to review that again.
Yep, absolutely.
And we'll probably be reviewing that a number of times, actually. That's part of the process, but, was there some thoughts about that?
Yeah, what we could do, I don't know, maybe the process is meet first, talk about it.
Yep.
And then what we can do is we can come and walk through that process here, what we discussed, what we found and what our what the results were.
Uh-huh.
And that'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. Is that adequate or do you?
I don't know. I guess I will find out. You know, it should be. There's been a lot of discussion about it. I'm just concerned.
What do you have in particular in mind?
Well, there are a couple of concepts that I think that we haven't really talked about, that we've talked about. That, for instance, the mechanics bay being sized to do more than just what it does now, what we do now. As in other towns, just a discussion to have that. The cost benefit, because it's going to be expensive to do it anyway. What would be the benefit to the town to do it a little larger to make sure we can handle more of the town's, vehicles?
From my experience, essentially what you do in that regard is you just size it for the ladder truck.
What?
That pretty much takes care of anything that you would need to work on. Because the height's already there.
Yep.
So it's the length that you need to worry about.
And what does that do?
And the equipment,
What?
of course.
So
Right.
we could get size and from fire station, right?
I guess you guys have done this before since I saw a facility that you did it with. So, all right. So those are the kind of things. And the other things about meeting rooms off the entrance and what kind of entrance and how do we treat our citizens and the need for the conference room to be as nice as it was when it didn't seem to be that necessary. I'm looking at things,
That's good, and that's the kind of feedback that those are the discussions that we need to have.
Right.
So that you feel comfortable with the project, so that you can represent the project to the rest of the taxpayers.
Yeah, we talked about visiting other sites too.
Right.
I
When do we
think
want to do that in this whole?
I'm open to making that other times
I'm
and
gonna leave that up to you.
I can
You can do it?
do it, yeah, as long as we
Okay.
set it up in advance.
Okay.
I should be able to. I mean, I would say we'd pick a couple.
Yeah, do you have, obviously these guys haven't seen Holden, bring them there.
Yep.
Do you guys
Yeah, we'll come up
come up with a list?
We'll come up with a list. Sometimes it's we like to if there's certain aspects of your project that, hey, there's a great facility nearby, let's go see that one. That has the same, drive-through maintenance bay or has the same lift, has a second floor, you won't have that here, but so we like to try to sync it up with something similar.
But I think like 2 or 3 tours would be, you should do it in a day.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, just do them in a day, just bounce around.
Yeah.
And that would be awesome. I remember it being huge for when we did it first.
Yeah.
And I remember we went to Chelmsford because at that time we were debating whether we were gonna rent out.
Yeah.
And Chelmsford was a rent out. So it was good apples to apples, we wouldn't look at that in this site because it wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
So
Maybe on the 30th, we talk about potential sites we want to visit.
Mhm.
sometime in July, we could.
Yeah.
Great.
That would be a future agenda item.
6:30.
Right. 5:30.
I want
6 p.m.
David's feedback, because your feedback is very important to me.
Well, I've had the luxury to visit dozens of public works facilities with my DOT training, so.
No, that's how I really think there's a wealth of information in this guy that you need to tap.
And there's really nice places.
Yep.
Functional places,
Yeah.
really, it's,
Well, that's what we're after,
we're
right?
after functional, right? It's gonna be nice because it's new. We're looking for functional. Sure. All right,
Okay.
Yeah.
so I will post a meeting for 6:30. I'll probably gonna post it early, just so it's done before I go away. Well, gotta remember to do that, and then, we'll meet then. Just bear with me, because I'll be coming back from vacation, and then we'll plan to meet again on the 14th. With the OPMs that we have in hand. So I will send out the OPM package by the end of next week. I'll advertise it middle of next week and go from there.
Sounds good.
And if you guys want to walk the site, we can set that up during,
Yeah.
I mean,
So Brian, you're going on vacation when then? you said?
Not till the end of June.
End of June.
Yeah.
So Bill and I will then set up an appointment with you.
Yeah, please
Sit
do.
down and go through the program. Do you want us to share the current program or you want to go through?
Why don't we go through it one more time now that we're really here, and
Yeah.
then we'll share it. Yeah.
All set, everyone?
I just two things.
Okay.
One is unrelated to this, but needs to be brought up. But first of all, it's American Public Works Week, so thank you to the DPW professionals across the nation. 2 weeks ago, I did read a proclamation at the select board meeting proclaiming such. Tomorrow I'll be providing lunch for these guys, the entire building.
Great.
So that's that. The second thing is unrelated to the building, but I went to the Washington Lake Association meeting last week.
Yeah.
And they are very thankful for all that you do and your department does. And they're very excited about the Sweat Hill Drainage Project.
I can only imagine.
Yes.
I'm just relaying that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready to motion, John?
oh, do we make a motion I'll make a motion.
Second.
Do it, Jim.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.